This episode is brought to you by Marshalls, where you never have to compromise between quality and price. The buyers at Marshalls hustle hard, working to bring you great deals on brand name and designer pieces. Because Marshalls believes everyone deserves access to the good stuff. Visit a Marshalls store near you or shop online at marshalls.com.
When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
This is Optimal Living Daily. 5 tips on how to live more intentionally by Julianna Poplin of thesimplicity.habit.com. And I'm Justin Malik. We're going to get right to today's post and continue optimizing your life. 5 tips on how to live more intentionally by Julianna Poplin of thesimplicity.habit.com. Everyone's journey to live more intentionally will look different. On my journey, I noticed 5 things I needed to work on if I wanted to figure out how to live more intentionally. 5 tips on how to live more intentionally. Number 1, look at what you have in your home. Our homes should be a place of refuge. However, so many of us have accumulated so much clutter that it's hard to feel any sense of peace or relaxation at home. In my journey to live more intentionally, I needed to look at what I owned and what was taking up time and space in my home. Having too much made me feel anxious and overwhelmed. As I began to work through decluttering my home, I had to face different reasons I had been hanging on to the clutter. Each step I took in decluttering helped me to feel like my home was becoming more manageable. We are impacted by our surroundings. Decluttering allowed me to have only the items I use and love remain in my home. Living intentionally means also being purposeful in what you own. Number 2, slow your spending. A key part of how to live more intentionally for me was paying more attention to how I was spending my money. If you haven't been used to tracking your finances, it can be quite eye-opening when you realize where your money has gone by month's end. After I became more aware of how I was spending money, I was able to make adjustments where needed. Early on in my journey, this meant reevaluating how often we ate out in restaurants. Those amounts seemed to add up fast and weren't too hard to change. I also looked at what monthly subscriptions we were paying for and decided to quit some and change subscriptions on others. As I was paying more attention to our budget, I did some price comparisons to see what bills could be lowered or eliminated. I implemented a 24-hour waiting period before making purchases. That provided clarity on whether or not I really wanted to spend money on that item. I'd already experienced regret from past purchases. I didn't want to repeat those mistakes. Learning to live more simply in a consumer culture takes time and effort. To live more intentionally, be aware of where your money is going. Is your spending reflecting your values? I was challenged to be more purposeful in where my money went. It wasn't easy, but the savings paid off. Number 3, evaluate your schedule. After evaluating our finances, I realized I also needed to examine my personal schedule as well as our family schedule. If I wanted to figure out how to live more intentionally, I needed to make sure we had plenty of margin in our schedule. And in order to create that, I learned to say no and say it often. Living intentionally forced me to think about what mattered most and my priorities. If I'm saying that my kids need plenty of family time as well as unstructured time for creative and imaginative play, then I can't fill their schedule with other commitments. I don't want to be overscheduled, and I don't want my kids to be either. This meant letting go of some things I had enjoyed for at least this current season. I opted not to sign my kids up for after-school activities. My youngest daughter started kindergarten this past year. I knew the schedule adjustment with her being in school full-time would be a lot. I didn't want to add after-school commitments on top of that. Every individual and family get to decide what works best for them in whatever season they find themselves in. People have different comfort levels with busyness and activities. The most important part is being intentional and being thoughtful and purposeful in what you say yes and no to. Your schedule should reflect your values and priorities. We live in such a busy and overcommitted culture. By default, it's easy to get sucked into that as well. But when you're clear on your values and goals, it's easier to say no when those opportunities arise. Number 4, consider your relationships. Another aspect of life I needed to look at on my journey to live more simply and intentionally was my relationships. In the social media culture, I want to make sure I was being intentional with how I communicated with people. I didn't want to pretend that by simply reading my friend's Facebook status that I really knew what was going on in their life. Am I noticing the needs of others? Am I being the friend, sister, daughter, mom, and wife I want to be? How could I be more intentional in the relationships that matter the most to me? I want to be aware of the needs of others and reach out and help when I can. In order to do that, I need to not be focused on just myself. In choosing a slower pace of living, it allows me to be more aware and available for the people in my life so I could be the friend I want to be. And number 5, control your media consumption. In working to live more intentionally, I needed to evaluate my media consumption. Social media, emails, and everything else our phones can do can use up a lot of our time if we're not careful. Living intentionally meant being purposeful in how and when I use my phone. I've worked to put people ahead of devices. I don't want to ignore the people who are right in front of me because I'm distracted by notifications on my phone. Keeping my phone on silent most of the time helps with that, but likely also annoys people who actually are trying to get a hold of me. I also set limits on certain apps on my phone so I don't spend more time than I intend on social media. In looking at how I use my phone, I also began to more carefully look at the messages and voices that were speaking into my life. I evaluated who I follow on social media and the emails I was subscribed to. I chose to unsubscribe and unfollow sources that were not helpful in my goal to live more simply and intentionally. I looked for people and groups that would be supportive of my goals. Simplify and Declutter is a Facebook group I created to help support and encourage each other. I'm encouraged by the people who've gone before me on this journey. I choose to fill my mind with the words of those on the same path looking to live more simply and intentionally in their lives as well. If you want to learn how to live more intentionally, focus on your home and how you're using your money, time, and attention. Living intentionally takes thought and effort, but living a more purposeful life is worth it. You just listened to the post titled 5 Tips on How to Live More Intentionally by Julianna Poplin of thesimplicityhabit.com. And I'll be right back with my commentary. Introducing your new Dell PC powered by the Intel Core Ultra processor. It helps you handle a lot, even when your holiday to-do list gets to be a lot, because it's built with all-day battery plus powerful AI features that help you do it all with ease, from editing images to drafting emails to summarizing large documents to multitasking. So you can organize your holiday shopping and make custom holiday decor and search for great holiday deals and respond to holiday requests and customer questions and customers requesting custom things, and plan the perfect holiday dinner for vegans, vegetarians, pescatarians, and Uncle Mike's carnivore diet. Luckily, you can get a PC that helps you do it all faster so you can get it all done. That's the power of a Dell PC with Intel inside, backed by Dell's price match guarantee. Get yours today at Dell.com/deals. Terms and conditions apply. See Dell.com for details. Thank you to Instacart. Restocking the pantry weekly can feel like a lot, whether that's just for yourself or for a whole family. Either way, with Instacart, I take care of all of it without making the trip to the grocery store, saving me hours a month. With just a few taps, I can get everything for my weekly meals and my household essentials from my favorite stores with delivery via Instacart in as fast as 30 minutes. The service has always been reliable and timely for me, and I trust the experienced shoppers to pick fresh, high-quality ingredients just as I would. No more traffic and waiting in lines. Instacart brings convenience, quality, and ease right to your door so you can focus on what matters most. Download the Instacart app and use code OPTIMAL20 to get $20 off your first order of $80 or more. That's code OPTIMAL20 to get $20 off your first order of $80 or more. Offer valid for a limited time, excludes restaurants, additional terms apply. Thank you to Julianna. This reminds me of the idea of our lives as buckets. We tend to focus on trying to pour more in. We need more money, more stuff, more goals, more activities. It never ends. And we think adding more is the path to happiness. But maybe it's less, or it's simply plugging the leaks. The article reminded me of that. Clutter in our homes could be a leak. Mindless spending is definitely a big leak that drains our resources. An overpacked schedule is another leak. Same with certain relationships or screen time. If we can learn to plug these first, maybe we'll feel like we don't need to keep filling the bucket. It could make a huge difference in how we feel on the average day. And like she said, it could be as simple as something like setting limits on certain apps on the phone. It doesn't have to be super complicated. So find those leaks today. Try to plug one up if you can. And with that, thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.